So I'm on my way to the radio station right now, and just want to talk about bad bosses. And no, I don't have a bad boss at the radio station. However, I've had bad bosses in the past, and the sort of thing I want to talk with you is sort of how to deal with this situation. And the first piece of advice I have for you actually is to try not to freak out. And this is something that matters because, you're at work and essentially you're in public, and people see what you do and people remember. And sure, yes, maybe no one, likes the boss. Maybe you really hate the boss, but you don't necessarily want to be yelling and cussing at each other in front of everyone if you can. Okay, how do we define a bad boss? So for me, for example, I had a boss that essentially broke contract. They promised me, hey, you could have these working conditions, you could work remote. They kind of changed that. I had another one, for example, that would constantly change their mind, which is terrible to say. They say, hey, you got to work on this project, and you start working on that. They're like, no, I never told you to work on that project. You're supposed to be working on the other project. Like that kind of stuff is a bad boss. So one of the things I want you to be thinking about in your situation is document very clearly what your boss is doing sort of, to address said issues, because sometimes the boss may not necessarily know that they're doing said things, right? So before you say automatically come to conclusions you have a bad boss, figure out, okay, what it is that's really making you mad, write it down, and then ask them. Say, hey, you told me before that I could work remote. Now you tell me to come in. What's the deal? Right? That kind of thing. But you don't necessarily want to freak out and start yelling at them right away. Another thing you want to be thinking about doing too is having other people to talk to about it. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you want to engage in office gossip. Oftentimes it's actually better to talk to people outside the office if you can, just to get it started and say, hey, I wrote down these files like sort of were shared with you guys before, where you document sort of why you think your boss is bad. You write down, said problems and sort of describe the situation to another person and try to be as fair as possible to both you and yourself, right? Don't just give them, say, one side of the story. Tell them the whole picture. And yes, there's a high chance your friend's probably going to agree with you, but, that's what friends are for. However, being able to talk to someone will sort of help you make it through this sort of tough time. If you do have someone at work that you trust in terms of like, someone that you feel like you could talk to about things at work, I'm sure you can. And I got a log right in here. I'm going to work myself. There you go. You don't necessarily want to engage in office gossip and drama and that kind of stuff. But this is also natural to talk about, bosses. And in fact, you guys, when we were talking about the Twitter situation, there's a lot of employees that were talking about Elon Musk, and it's actually really funny. Evidently, there's one employee that could read Musk better than other people, and they've been calling him the Elon Whisperer. So yes, you might have a bad boss, but one thing I want to tell you is don't take it personal. This matters because sometimes, you let people get to you too much and you start beating yourself down. And you might actually be doing really good work. It's just that your boss doesn't appreciate you the way that he or she should. And this is something that you need to have confidence in your work, be confident in yourself. At the radio station, I have a good boss. And, essentially, he asks me, hey, Chris, what do you want to do each week? And I tell him. Or he says, I don't like that. You should try something else. And I give a couple more suggestions, then we come to something together. But mostly, what I like about it is it's basically independent. I just do whatever I want. I just come in and do the show, and that's it. And one thing I think is important about a good boss is that sort of they respect you, they respect your work, and they, kind of take input for you, give you some feedback. Sometimes, that you got to change a few things, but that's essentially what a good job should be. So I think a bad boss, and this is sort of why I bring up good boss, is someone that just completely micromanages you. I hate that, and I think a lot of people out there hate that. No one wants to be told exactly what to do, right? More like you want to be given a task, and then you solve it, not necessarily given a task and tell exactly how it should be done, because sometimes there's more than one way to complete a task, and what works for you may not necessarily be, works for another person, but you work the way that's most efficient for you. And sort of why I think this is a good discussion to have is when you think about bad bosses that you have, think about when eventually you get promoted that you don't want to be that person. Because I'm telling you guys, managing people is an art form. And it takes experience, and this is something that you got to get better at over time. Don't expect to be good at it right away, but you're using these experiences today to become a better boss for tomorrow. It's funny we're talking about bad bosses, but guys, on my way to work here, it's really cool. The trees are starting to change color. You can kind of see in the background, seeing a little pinks come out. These are like the cherry blossoms and the green, and I think spring is almost here. I still got to wear a jacket in the morning, but it's funny. I mentioned this to you guys before, but the worst thing in the world is going to work and hating where you work. And I consider myself very lucky to, work at the radio station, but Those are one of the things that I think to share with you guys. If you have a bad boss and you want to change your situation, you can. It's your life. You take control. Don't let people treat you the way you think is not right for you, right? Go find someone else. Go be your own boss, or go find a better boss. And in your company, you can be looking for different opportunities and maybe a different apartment might solve your problem, or you may have to leave company entirely. This is something that you always want to be doing in your career, is keeping sort of the lifeboat ready and building out your network so you always know where the opportunities are. And this is essentially where you're going to get everything in your career. Essentially, the best things, I don't say everything, but the best things is through your network. It's very, very hard to find something cold, and your network may be university network. It could be like, for example, let's say you're in consulting, which a lot of people do when they first start out. You're going to meet lots and lots of clients through that kind of thing. And, if someone is pleasant and good to work with, they'll want to work with you again. And that's essentially what you got to be doing. So don't think, having a bad boss now is the end of your career. It may be a temporary setback, but it's not forever. Another thing that really helps you get through tough times of having a bad boss is think about documenting your work through objective means, through essentially numbers. I'll give you an example. When I was in recruiting, I could literally see the numbers, and I would have like double the numbers of other people in the office. And so I knew I was doing good work. So no matter what the boss would say about me or however the boss would treat me, I knew I was doing good work, and that gave me confidence. This is something I want you to think about with what you do is, keep tabs and keep kind of record of the work that you're doing. And objectively, sort of, you can tell yourself, okay, I'm doing good work. Look at how well I'm doing compared to other people. Look how much, say money I'm bringing into the organization, these kind of things. This will give you confidence to fight for yourself. Maybe you stay at your company, maybe you don't. That's up to you. But always do good work, because doing bad work won't help you. I can tell you that. Doing good work is the best way to go. You want to be thinking about it as a marathon, not a sprint, right? You're going for the long game. And when in doubt, you always want to do good work. Not only does it give you confidence, it gives you more options. The more skills you have, the more options of places you have to go. The less skills you have, you're kind of stuck with your bad boss, unfortunately, because, you have no other alternatives. And something that I've been very fortunate with, and I'm just sharing with you guys, is that I've always just focused on my work as much as I can. And I'm just telling you, you got to be thinking about, okay, how can I prove that I'm a good worker, that I'm a valuable person? How can I do that every day? And not only that, how can I document that, right? Because yes, it's kind of the idea of, if you're working in an office and no one sees you working, are you really working, right? If a tree falls down the forest kind of thing. And so this is sort of the idea that you really do want to document, all the money you bring in the company, all the projects that you completed. And usually you want to sort of illustrate what role you had on the biggest things that people know. And this is something that when you go to job interviews, when you meet other people and say, hey, what do? You'll be able to tell them right away, and you want to tell some of the biggest things that you did, and you want to be proud of that. And this sort of positive energy, and I know we're talking about bad bosses, but I want to, give you ideas of like how to get around that, because one of the things that you always want to be thinking about is that it's not forever, and you are in control of your career.
And bad in a, like bad, not like bad, like football. Like bad, like really bad.
And we gotta, sort of talk about some of the things that can go wrong, right?
Sure.
So I'll share a few of my experiences. Example of a bad boss, especially into this day and age, would be where they tell you that your job's going to be remote, and then they switch that up on you, and that's probably the number one thing that people don't like.
Right, you're lied to.
Yeah.
You also want to have really clear boundaries between work and your personal life. So yes, you have a bad boss, right? But when you go home, just forget about it. Watch some TV, read a book, go do some exercise, just do something else. And don't let that, weigh your whole life down. And this is something that I think is important, is, separating work from your personal life. Someone was asking me before in comments, hey, Chris, can you talk about how you can be successful without necessarily killing yourself? And that's actually a good point. I should probably make more videos emphasizing that. The work-life balance is really important. And I understand in this sort of world of social media, it might feel like, everyone out there on YouTube is telling you, you have to work yourself to the ground, basically, in order to be successful, but not necessarily. I do think you should do your work. I do think you should work hard. But I don't think you necessarily be working 24/7 all the time. I do take rest, guys. I get tired like anyone else. And when I do, I sleep. And when I'm not sleeping, I'm enjoying a nice meal. And when I'm not doing that, I'm out just out and about for a nice walk and these kind of things. And I just want to emphasize with you, I think one of the best ways to, do well at your job is sometimes take some time to recharge, so you come to work and you have the energy that requires. Because I know, guys, work can be really grueling sometimes, and this is when you just need to take a break. So don't let it consume you if someone's abusive at work all the time. And again, you want to challenge that energy into something positive, right? Working towards either doing a good job at your work or finding alternate solutions to where you can leave and go find something better. Now, depending on what exactly is going on with your boss, you might want to consider talking to HR, right? This is something more serious. Your boss is doing things that are really inappropriate, not necessarily just a bad boss, but just doing things that are really inappropriate for the company, these kind of things. Talk to someone in HR about it, right? That's what they're there for. This professional work environment, and no one deserves to be abused. Also, in the future, when you're talking about bad bosses, you could be thinking about, okay, I don't want this to happen again. And next time you go to a job interview, remember the job interview is you're interviewing them along with them interviewing you. And so if you ever had a bad experience, with the boss before, you'll know, okay, this is what I want to look for in the future. And this is sort of protecting you. Sometimes people think when they're applying for a job, it's sort of just a one-way street. But in fact, it's a two-way street. And that goes back to, if you have the skills that people want, you're going to get more than one job offer. And you want to use the opportunity, again, to interview them. It's not just them interviewing you, to avoid this problem in the first place. You guys probably guess it, man. I hate bad bosses. I've had enough to where I know I never want another one again. In fact, I think this is something sort of motivates me. Why I study hard, why I try to work hard, why I try to, give you good advice as well, is because you can get a better life. You're not powerless in this world. You always have a choice of, are you going to try hard or not? And if you're unhappy with your circumstances, with your boss, your situation, stuff like that, find ways to improve yourself, right? If you feel like there's no opportunities for you, find ways to make it so that you provide value so there is opportunities for you, right? Don't just sit around and complain that, I can't do anything and stuff like that. Just figure out a way to better yourself. And I know that's not popular advice, but it's real advice and it's true advice, because unfortunately there's sometimes, if you don't have a lot of options, you kind of feel like you're stuck with a bad boss. This is something that I'm just sharing with you guys. I quit jobs. It happens. If I feel like that I'm not being paid enough, if I feel like my boss is treating me poorly, I just quit. There's something else out there. There's something better to go find, and you can always do something else. So don't feel like you're ever trapped in your life. So we were just talking about this at the radio station. My coworker was saying she had a job when she was young, where her boss was just touching her inappropriately, and she basically just quit the next day. This is a real thing, guys, and just want to share with you, if you feel like you're just being treated, poorly, we're talking about like more illegal kind of stuff, you don't have to tolerate it, right? You can go to HR, you can just flat out just quit, go find something else. You got to protect yourself out there. There's no reason to put up with that kind of stuff in this day and age. I think that's important. And, lastly, I just want to reiterate, moreover, always do a good job. And if you feel like you're doing good work and you feel like you can be treated better somewhere else, go somewhere else. This is your life. This is your career. And there's no reason for you to tolerate someone treating you badly all of the time. So that's all I have for you guys today. Do appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you next video.